Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I know I always start talking with about the weather. On a rainy day, it is lovely to be able to come here and have you all bring your energy and fill the day with sunshine, so thank you. I'd like to begin, of course, by recognizing that Lakehead University does respectfully acknowledge its campuses are located on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. Lakehead Thunder Bay is located on the traditional lands of the Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty of 1850. Lakehead, Orillia, and the Barrie STEM Hub are located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, which include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. The Chippewa Tri-Council First Nations of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama, and Georgina Island First Nation are all signatories to the Williams Treaty. We also recognize that the Huron-Wendat peoples lived in the territory prior to the middle of the 17th century. Lakehead University acknowledges the history that many nations hold in the areas around our campuses and is committed to a relationship with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples based on the principles of mutual trust, respect, reciprocity, and collaboration in the spirit of reconciliation. As I've mentioned, and I love mentioning this because it seems to spark conversation every week, while my heart lies in Orillia and I've grown up here and raised my family here, my heart also holds a special place in the lands of Temagami, the waters, the old pine forestry there, and we spend our summers there, and in those conversations, people have shared the time that they spend there as well. So if you ever have an opportunity to explore beyond Orillia, Temagami is a beautiful space, and the Caribou Mountain that you see as you drive there with the old fire tower is where we were married in 2003, with lots of black flies present in attendance. Many of our city relatives were a bit shocked. We did have a bear trap removed by helicopter from my aisle. Very interesting, but so beautiful to be part of nature. And so we really reflect on that space when we're together up there in the summer. Also exciting with our friends in Rama First Nation, we are doing a farm tour in Rama on June 9th. If you're interested and want to know a little bit more about that potential opportunity and whether it's open to community, just feel free to reach out to me and we can share a little bit about our learning or the potential to attend if that's something that's of interest to you. The Sharing Places organized that for us in partnership with Lakehead, so we are very much looking forward to that. So, welcome to the third installment now, I think, for the Tall Spring lecture series, Feed the Soul. And this series has certainly been doing that. It's been feeding the soul. We've had lots of feedback from folks viewing online and folks who are present, that it's uplifting, that it's encouraging, that it's inspiring. And I did just have a conversation with our speakers about my daughter's pathway, having just graduated from the symphony orchestra at U of T, and how I have regret and how I look back and I wish I could go back. And the encouragement I received was, well, you can't go back, but you can always go forward. And I do have lifelong learning in my title, so that was really inspirational to hear for me this morning and pushes me forward in my learning. Today's specific lecture asks us to consider something both ancient and urgent: why theater matters and for whom. Our presenters have chosen a title that sounds almost like a challenge: theater, not for nothing or nobody. It reminds us that theater is never accidental decoration. At its best, it is witness, provocation, memory, laughter, resistance, delight, and above all, connection. Theater is always about something and always for somebody. We are extraordinarily fortunate that our guides today are two people who have spent their lives proving exactly that. Rex Deverell has devoted some 65 years to the arts since his high school days here in Orillia. An award-winning playwright, librettist, lyricist, and theologian, his work has crossed genres, countries, and generations. His plays have been translated into multiple languages and performed across Canada and internationally. Many know Boiler Room Suite and one of the country's most widely produced Canadian plays. Others know his work through forum theater projects such as Life Gets in the Way, Project Act, and DIS, works rooted in community engagement and social dialogue. His libretti for opera have brought history and imagination to musical life, and throughout his remarkable career, he has remained deeply connected to this town, to the Opera House, to the old library, and to the cultural life that helped shape him. We are especially delighted to know that he is currently at work on a new play exploring a once famous vanished monument from Couchiching Beach Park. Alongside him is Rita Shelton Deverell, broadcaster, journalist, playwright, educator, advocate, and one of the most influential cultural voices in Canada. We are also proud to note that she is Lakehead University's chancellor. Born in Houston, Texas, she joined CBC Television in 1973 and went on to become one of the first Black women in Canada to serve as a television host and network executive. Her work has consistently championed voices too often excluded from the center of public conversation. She co-founded Vision TV, helped shape arts and spirituality programming through Arts Express, and later served as news director of the Aboriginal Peoples Television Network, where mentorship and inclusion were central to her leadership. Her contributions to Canadian culture were recognized with the Governor-General's Performing Arts Award for Lifetime Artistic Achievement in 2022. Her acclaimed play, Who You Callin' Black, Eh?, continues her lifelong commitment to storytelling that is fearless, funny, and socially engaged. Together, Rex and Rita bring not only extraordinary artistic accomplishment, but also a shared belief that art belongs in conversation with community. Their work asks difficult questions, amplifies unheard stories, and reminds us that theater is not merely entertainment, it is encounter. This morning, through excerpts and in conversation with all of us, they will explore Florence Bean James' memorable phrase, theater about something for somebody. And we have been warned in the best possible way that today's presentation includes video and glimpses of never before presented new work from each of them. So we are not only hearing reflections on theater, but we are also being invited into the living, unfolding process of creation itself. And we really timed it super well to have theater in our faces behind us here, looking forward to the Wizard of Oz production here at St. Paul's Center. So please do join me in warmly welcoming two extraordinary artists, thinkers, and community builders, Rex Deverell and Chancellor Rita Shelton Deverell.
I'm sure I can get up these steps.
Thank you, Nikki, for that introduction. Now I don't have to do any more, I think. And thanks for Third Age Learning for the theme, Feed the Soul. 2 weeks ago, Kate Hilliard told us that dance nourishes the body and soulful creativity in the body nourishes the soul and heals the soul. She told us to keep creating. Then last week, Tony Bianco showed us how painting frames the creation around us, and beyond that, to the Creator. And maybe we could think of theater as a kind of spiritual exercise, a search for revelation. I think. Maybe even a theological journey from inkling to production, a feast for the soul.
I said we should say something in our introduction that wasn't in our introduction. And so here's a bit of a memory that's been recalled by being in this set for The Wizard of Oz. I hadn't thought about this in years. When I was 8 years old, I played Auntie M in a radio drama production in Houston, Texas, where I grew up. And looking back on, this is absolutely remarkable. So this was a group of black children meeting at our community center. Everything is completely segregated. This is before the civil rights movement. We had a remarkable teacher whose name was Vernell Lilly. And Vernell Lilly was taking this group of children and doing radio drama with them at a black-owned radio station in the ghetto. I didn't think there was anything unusual about this. That's what I was growing up with. It, of course, was many years later when I discovered that the kind of casting she was doing, not to mention this was a group of children playing all the parts, and the owner of the radio station was adventuresome enough to give us our weekly show of radio drama. It was a wonderful experience, and I never questioned after that whether I could be an actor. Have you got any secrets?
Well, when I was 8 years old, I was down in the banquet hall behind us, shouting with everybody else, Aquila, dib, dib, what? Well, it's a while back, I can't remember it anymore. But I was a cub, and the Aquila was Mr. Lang from the high school, and but I also loved The Wizard of Oz, so it was nice they built this set for us. It was the wizard I loved. I really liked it when he came out, the old guy, behind the curtain, and it turned out that he was pulling levers and making special effects. And that for me was magic. You could produce magic. So that part wasn't in the introduction either, thank goodness.
So Cassie, we can have the photograph of us when we were much younger. Ta-da! I thought we should show this because frequently people ask how we met. And that is, so that's not 1966, which is when we met, but it's just a few years later. It's 1970, I think. We met in graduate school in New York City, and I had come to the conclusion, graduate school being, I was getting an MA in the history of religions from Columbia University. And you could go to classes at any of the federated theological colleges, one of which was Union Theological Seminary. And that's where I met Rex. I had come to the conclusion that the arts had a spiritual purpose, so I would study religions. Now, I had no idea what I would do with that, but it just seemed like a reasonable path at that moment. So it's the path that I took, and there we are in 1970 when we decided that we would give theater a whirl.
Yeah. When I went from McMaster to Union, it was really quite amazing for me. I turned the radio on the morning after I got there, and heard that at Grand Central Station there were hippies putting flowers in the rifle butts of the barrels of soldiers going to Vietnam. It was a whirlwind of protest and activity. I know that I think this was invested in me earlier than this, but I knew that theater can create wonder, it can tell us who we are, and it can tell us who we can be. So I wanted to study theology as a way into my interest in theater. I wanted to use situations and characters, not to answer questions, but to explore the questions, to ask them with characters, with dialogue. So, I resigned from the little church that I had, and Rita and I Rita packs me in the trunk of the car, and she's auditioned for the Globe Theatre in Regina, Saskatchewan. So she puts us on the road to our first professional theater experience.
So there we are at the Globe Theatre in Regina, and in the first few weeks of rehearsal, I'm rehearsing Shakespeare's Women. This is going to be the show for the high school kids. And there is a little old lady sitting in the back of the rehearsal hall. I don't know who she is, and she is complaining about, well, I'm not sure. She's complaining. And her name is Florence James. Her story was so inspiring to me that I kept it, and 35 years later, I wrote a play about it. So here's an excerpt from that play, and you have to think of this young theater company rehearsing on the stage.
Speak up!
Now we know that in the 1950s United States, Senator Joseph McCarthy charged many progressive people in New York with contempt of Congress because they refused to answer his questions. Now we know that Dalton Trumbo and the glitzy Hollywood 10 were charged, fined, went to jail, were blacklisted. Some lost their careers or lives. Now we know that there is a new Cold War because Russia has waged a hot war in Ukraine. Before all that, in 1948, Florence Bean James was completely ruined by the Washington State Committee on Un-American Activities in Seattle. She escaped to Canada, to Saskatchewan, where I met her in 1971 at the Globe Theatre in Regina. This is Florence's story.
Speak up! Theater isn't about nothing for nobody.
Fie, fie! Unknit that threatening, unkind brow, and dart not scornful glances from those eyes. Florence is stamping the theater's season brochures.
Sometimes they ask me, Mrs. James, don't you find this tedious?
It blots thy beauty as frost do bite the meads, confounds thy fame as whirlwind shake fair buds, and is in no sense meet or amiable.
No, I say anything that it takes to keep a theater going, I'm willing to do. And the subscription brochures are certainly something we need to keep going. Damn. We never earned any money, really. But in the 30s and 40s, our Seattle theater had some great productions.
A woman moved is like a fountain troubled, muddy, ill-seeming, thick, bereft of beauty. And while it is so, none so dry or thirsty will deign to sip or touch one drop of it.
Just like here at the Globe, we don't do plays about nothing for nobody.
Thy husband is thy Lord, thy life, thy keeper, thy head, thy sovereign, one that cares for thee.
Speak up, please. What are you saying, for pity's sake? I'm way back here, 6 rows. It's not that far.
Who is this old lady telling us to speak up? Us, newly minted professional actors. I've got my first card-carrying equity job. It feels like I've died and gone to heaven. Okay, I'm more than a little nervous, terrified actually, about doing a classical play. Me, from Texas, with folks straight from Canada's National Theatre School. But I am pumped to prove and double prove to the Globe Theatre and Canadian theatre in general that it cannot do without me.
Speak up.
You've likely noticed that I'm black. By 1971, lusting for the professional theater since I was 16, I don't think this miracle will ever happen to me. The miracle is more than worth the move from Toronto to Regina. Everything seems to be going okay in the first 4 weeks. In the second week, the director tells us that the little old lady sitting in the back of the rehearsal hall can't hear us. We should speak up.
Speak up.
I haven't a clue who she is. And nobody is bothering to tell our happy little band of 5 actors. Somebody's mother, maybe. The theater using rehearsals as a senior's daycare for somebody's mother.
Speak up.
My fellow actors just aren't worried. But I have to know how much power this old woman has on me. Is she going to get me fired from my miracle equity job? Finally, I have to ask the director. Not to worry, he says. Florence is getting a bit deaf, and you're doing just fine. Mrs. James? Do you think Kate can say one thing to her husband and another to us, to the women specifically in the audience, even if they're just high school students?
Ah, clever, Rita. I'm glad you're finally asking me. Though, that is a very modern interpretation. And very imaginative interpretation. Though I was a suffragette in 1920, I helped get petitions signed demanding a vote for women in New York.
I never met a sign-carrying feminist from that era. Did you go to jail?
Not then. Not for the suffrage parades in any case. Brava, Rita. Definitely going in the right direction. Speak up, girl.
But it takes years to know Mrs. James' story. It takes years to understand that speak up means a lot more than diction, to Florence James.
Not everybody likes speak-up theater. Nobody really wants to be preached at, even on Sundays, sometimes. Preachy theater raises questions, but then it answers them for us, doesn't it? It doesn't let us presume to think for ourselves. There are other kinds of speak-up theater. There's agitprop, theater that spurs us to challenge and rebel. It can be useful, but the message is predetermined. Political theater, like, imagine way back in ancient Greece, that play called Lysistrata, which was the first feminist anti-war satire, and that was ancient Greece. I think of other plays like Enemy of the People by Ibsen. And then there's forum theater. I wrote for a mixed company in Toronto, artistic director Simon Malbagat, where you present the worst case scenario of an issue. And then the second act of the play, you invite people from the audience to come up, improvise with the actors, and see if they can provide a dialogue that changes the negative outcome of the scene, the issue. So that was great. But my favorite kind of theater is an imaginary garden with a real toad in it. Some of you will know that line. It comes from Marianne Moore, the American poet, who wrote a poem called Poetry, in which she uses that line. Imaginary gardens with real toads. And I try to write plays like that too, I think. I think The Wizard of Oz is a drama like that. It's not just about a little girl caught in a whirlwind. And so is Boiler Room Suite. Let's listen to an interview about that play. Cassie?
Oh, Andrew Moody.
And this is an amazing space. This is the Calvary Baptist Church.
That's right.
On Main Street in Toronto.
Yep.
72 Main.
Yeah.
Right. And this is beautiful. Tell me actually about, you were talking about some of the stained glass windows.
Oh, well, that one at the very back of the church above the balcony. The minister here, before World War II, he enlisted and became an army chaplain in World War II and went over to Europe. And he had this vision of building this building when he got back. And he said, oh, wait a minute, I've got all this wreckage from European cathedrals, stained glass all littered all over the ground. Mm-hmm. He put the things in cardboard boxes and shipped them back to Toronto. And the window at the very back of the church is made up of all of these little bits and pieces of stained glass from World War II in Europe.
That's amazing.
It's a sort of dedicated memorial window.
It's amazing also, but when you told me that story, I thought, I wonder if he ever worried that somebody from Europe would come to the church and go, hang on,
that's ours.
That would be so funny. You're like, oh, no, it's, anyway.
the reason that we're doing it in the church is that when I was a young Turk studying theology at McMaster, I was the student assistant at this church to the same ex-chaplain, Major Bob Snade, and so I felt that I was the opposition. That this was a fairly comfortable suburban church, a beach church, and comfortably off. And I felt that the minister had was trying to make his congregation too comfortable. Right. So whenever I got the chance to preach, which I did every couple of weeks, once in the morning and once at the evening service, I would feel the need to afflict the comfortable as opposed to comfort the afflicted.
Right, interesting.
So, and then we kind of turned up here from time to time over the ensuing years when I was busy being a playwright. And finally, they made me minister emeritus. Now, I went from student assistant to minister emeritus in one leap.
That's a pretty good career path.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And it doesn't mean anything. They don't even give me a parking spot. There are no perks involved. But I get hauled in to preach every so often, or conduct a funeral or a wedding.
And do you, every now and again, do you,
afflict the comfortable?
Do you still do that?
I don't know. Maybe listening to me preach is enough of an affliction.
No, that's not true. So let's talk about your early life. First, let's talk about your parents.
My father was a Central Ontario farm boy from near Dalrymple. It's close to Seabright. Yeah. Which is close to Orillia.
Right.
So my mother was a Barbadian. She was a West Indian immigrant who came to Canada in the 30s, picked fruit, worked as a domestic, eventually started training as a nurse, found her way, she did her training in Orillia, at Soldiers Memorial Hospital in Orillia, and met my dad, who was in the hospital for tonsillitis. Right. And they got married, and I came along shortly afterwards. I was born in Toronto, but they moved back to Orillia. And then Dad went to war.
I think
he was a tank driver,
probably you've heard enough about me.
But made it back.
And to tell you the truth,
I was like 5 when.
Just fade that out if you will, Cassie. That was the wrong clip. Oh well. So I said this was going to be about Boiler Room Suite, and so let us read you a scene from Boiler Room Suite. Boiler Room Suite. Aggie and Sprug are two homeless people drinking the afternoon away in the boiler room of an old hotel. And by the time this scene comes in, they're pretty well soused.
There was a time in my life I drank bathtub gin.
They don't make it anymore. They make bathtubs, but they don't make bathtub gin. They use the tubs for baths. I'm worried.
Why?
I can't think of anything to say.
Nothing to worry about.
It is. If I don't say anything, then nothing will be said.
Leastways, nothing foolish.
Pardon?
What were you saying?
If nothing is said, this basement will descend into silence.
Let it.
Against my nature. It's a sin.
Yeah?
By nature, I am compelled to fill every corner of life with sound and fury, with vivid coloration. The more the better. But sometimes I can't think of anything.
A light bulb goes out.
Aggie,
Yeah?
did the light just go out?
Yep.
Oh, good. I thought it might be the booze.
So silence,
Silence has set in and the lights have gone out.
and you're getting weirder all the time.
I come from humble origins. My mother and my father were simple, uneducated folk. I wish I could remember their names, their last name and my last name, of course. It sounded like some sort of vegetable.
The light comes back on. There! It comes on and off like that.
And it goes off again. My father dug ditches for a living. My chief memory of him is of a man down in a hole. One day when I was only a small tot, I was watching him at work down in a hole. After a time, I picked up a large rock which he himself had excavated. It was probably a very heavy rock, although I remember it as being very light. Memory takes the weight out of things. I carried the rock over to the edge of the ditch, and my father dug away unsuspectingly to far below, and I took careful aim and I let the rock fall.
Did you kill him?
I missed.
That's quite a vicious streak.
I have since gotten over my need for patricide. I deal with harsh realities in other ways.
Like what?
Blast from the boiler. I do sound effects too. Magic.
Oh,
The lights dim up, hopefully, but fails and goes off. There must be a failure in the power system.
must be.
What would you do if you had unlimited power?
Fix the light.
Seriously, do you know?
Oh, I know all right. First off, I'd show those punks up there, the bastards who threw the pennies, I'd show them a thing or two.
And then?
I'd mop up the floor with Pilkington, the scum, down at the welfare. And after I cleaned up on the bastards in this world, I would then order an unlimited supply of booze and drink the whole thing.
You have a limited imagination.
I'm past insults.
Look at them up there, Aggie. 1,000 people, just a few hundred feet away. All kinds of people, people who make decisions, people who carry out decisions, people with power. There they are, stacked, one on top of another. Tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor. Pick one, Aggie.
Prime Minister.
All right, Prime Minister.
So that's Boiler Room Suite. A play in this season that has ticked all the boxes for me is called Rogers versus Rogers, and it's by Michael Healy. I suppose because most of my work has been in broadcasting and media, this play about the dangers of no competition, of monopolies, of what we are currently experiencing in media, really had important themes for me. I hear that it is coming back to Canadian stage in the fall, but it was originally produced by Crow's Theatre in Toronto. So, Cassie, let's take a look at the interview with Michael Healy and the director of Rogers versus Rogers.
Rogers versus Rogers is about a really interesting struggle of a major Canadian corporation to grow and expand, to do the largest merger in Canadian history, a merger between two of the biggest telecom companies in Canada, Rogers Communications and Shaw Communications.
This story talks about things that we're all currently worrying about. High prices, market concentration, weak competition.
And it's also about the experience of feeling lost in the marketplace, why we're paying fees on top of fees, and is about helping us understand how this has happened, why we feel this way, and what we can do about it.
There's a lot of common ground there for Canadians. Everybody's worried about high prices. Canadians pay some of the highest prices in the world for cell phone service. And so here was an opportunity to kind of engage with some of those ideas with the facts of this Rogers family blow-up story as the backdrop.
So as you can see, that is from the Manitoba Theatre Centre. So the play is traveling around, and I think it's very significant. Another thing that is part of my recent work is a short called Wanda Justice Warrior. And among the things that this is about, I was delighted to be asked by the young producers to play Wanda. So this is not this is written by somebody else. I'm being a hired gun of an actor. And Wanda decides to go back to university, to go to university for the first time when she's in her 70s because she didn't have the opportunity to do it earlier. So, Cassie, let's take a look at Wanda.
And for those of you who still doubt it, yes, slavery did exist in Canada. And not only that, in Nova Scotia, racial segregation was actively present for most of the 20th century. Nova Scotia has long been referred to as the Canadian.
Technical troubles. I hope you can get beyond it.
Was that the makeup artist?
Very funny. Oh dear.
Maybe you can tell us what happens.
I can tell you what happened. So Wanda is Viola Desmond's sister, and she's younger than Viola, and so she informs this class of young people that Viola was her sister. Yes, these things have happened in Nova Scotia. Yes, there was slavery in Nova Scotia. And I know from experience how much this shocks some people. They become quite disturbed because the story that they want to tell is the story of the Underground Railroad. So now Wanda has been discovered, Viola Desmond has been discovered, and the person who brought this story forward is the teacher, the university teacher, who was so amazed about Wanda being in his class, and he promoted the story thereafter. So it was wonderful to portray her. This person, you have got the rest of Wanda?
Shall we do? I'll do.
Yes.
Well, no, because Cassie will. I have a couple of clips to show.
Yes.
During this, can we go on to monumental difficulties? Okay, I was a bit surprised when there were people who have come to Orillia and never saw the Champlain Monument. But for me, I grew up with it, as many of us have, and in recent years I've been sort of gathering things. I've written little poems about it. I've thought of scenarios for it. There's what it looked like. Now, the play opens as the lights go down. So you have to close your eyes to pretend that this is the dark theater. And you will hear this. Attention, everyone. Thanks. I hope you've been enjoying our tour of the quaintest towns of Central Ontario. I'd like to acknowledge that right now we're driving through the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nation and the Three Fires Confederacy. The sound fades, interior of a bus in under the tour guide's lines. In a few minutes, we'll be at this final site of our excursion. Oh, sad. I know. But let me tell you, we've saved the best to the last, the pièce de résistance of our little expedition. When you get off the bus, you'll be overwhelmed by the awesome Champlain Monument. This monument is a towering piece of art. You can see it in our brochure. There's a picture of it right there. Beautiful. It's been described as history brought to life. 7 gargantuan figures in glorious bronze, frozen in time and space, every detail, every sinew sculpted in a magnificent piece of Canadian art. You can turn the slide off, it's fine. On the ground where the great explorer set foot more than 400 years ago. This is an extraordinary monument erected in 1924. And it's the pride of this charming town here in cottage country. And not only that, it's the pride of the whole of our nation. Canada, true north, strong and free from sea to sea to sea. The sound of the air brakes going, the engine revving down, the bus honks its horn. And here we are, just follow me off the bus and into the shut that off because we're here in the park. Okay, we're going to go to the next. Here we are. Just follow me off the bus in the park. Beautiful Couchiching Beach Park. There's a bit of a breeze blowing off the lake today. You might want to take your coats. Anything you want to carry, you can leave in the bus, no problem. Oh, careful, watch that bottom step, all right? All right, well, here we go. So the lights come up, there is no monument, just a platform. There's wind and desolation blowing over it. Enter the tour guide, he's got a bag and he's carrying a follow flag. Oh crap. It's gone.
So you have to get to the animation.
Oh, yeah. So now that's how it begins, the play. Now, can you turn the next one on, the final one? Here's how I think it's going to end, subject to revision. No.
Oh. Well.
No.
I think we're moving along.
You've got to see this. Our son is an animator, among other things, and he's been working on with the statuary of the monument and bringing it to life. Maybe we'll get it during the questions and answers. I like to show you how the play might end. Okay, let's give up on that.
And what you should know is that the current plan is for there to be a production of Monumental Difficulties, probably through Arts Orillia, in the spring. Is that correct?
No, a year from now.
A year from now. Okay. Hold on to that thought. About 20 years ago, I wrote an article about getting older. And so that was 20 years ago, and I thought it was urgent to work on the scripts and the projects that I was working on, because after all, how much time did I have left? I still feel that way. And the message is, you don't want to let go. This is why I said that Nikki could move forward with her music instead of regretting what she didn't do. So here's a bit of an assignment that we're going to do right now. Assignment sounds awful. I'll use a different word. An exploratory task that we're going to do right now. So I'm working on 3 scripts at the same time, but I'm only going to tell you about one. This came as a total surprise. I was working on a book, I thought, about surprises in people's backgrounds. And I went into my own background and got a total surprise that I wasn't expecting, which is that my ancestors, some of my ancestors, had been slaves to Choctaw Indians. Now, the existence of Choctaw was not a surprise. I'm from Texas, and so Texas, Oklahoma are home to 5 tribes, including Choctaw, and I had a wonderful portrait of a great-grandmother who had a Choctaw background. But what I didn't know, and it came to me as a shock, is that these people were slaves. So I'm currently working on a script called Twice a Slave, since I, of course, always knew that my African ancestry people were slaves. So Twice a Slave was an unpleasant jar. This story has all kinds of other ramifications in an era of pretendians, of truth and reconciliation, of many things that I am concerned about. It's also a story that all of the stories we've been experiencing are stories that we have. We have these stories, and they have implications for the rest of us. That's a very important way of feeding the soul. But here's the message. Like my panic 20 years ago, that I was getting older and I needed to get these stories out. That's true for all of us. So here's the assignment, and I think we can take 10 minutes to do this. Think of a story that is in your Rolodex, either because it's your story or it's been told to you, that has implications for people other than you. And in twos, or possibly threes, but 2 is a good number, tell your partner the story. And the partner at that moment, you get to ask 2 questions, only 2 questions, of the person telling the story when it's almost finished, and then switch and let you tell your story. So tell the story, 2 questions, switch. I may tell you when 5 minutes have gone by so that you do switch. When we have an intermission, you may want to make notes about this, but for now, do it verbally. Do it verbally with eye contact with the person that you are speaking with. Okay, so think what the story is, and find a partner or 2, and begin. So that is 11 o'clock.
It's 11.
Yeah. So 10 after 11, we have an intermission. And come back. Should work. Well, I don't know what happened with Wanda.
I don't know what happened with. I hadn't seen Ramsey's slide, but but you saw it.
And I thought we saw it in the rehearsal. When she was,
I don't think we did.
just tested Champlain. Did you see that? No. This was falling off there. Okay. The podium
Just
mic.
for the switch. I don't know the way.
Oh, I
Say that. But just to tell you, she was coming. 2 seconds.
no, she's back.
She. Okay, you want to call them to finish?
Okay. And you say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call you to wind up. And during the intermission, which is coming up really soon, if you have something to write with, you may want to actually make notes about this. When I wrote the article 20 years ago, because I was getting older, I said, one of the main reasons you have to do your work is that who do you think is going to do your work for you? This person doesn't exist. And so it's actually you who has to tell the story, whatever the important story that's going to feed the soul is. So you may want to make some notes. Right before we go to intermission, which will be soon, Cassie is going to show us the conclusion of the Champlain item. So we take it away. So this is intermission, and we will come back and have some questions and hopefully some answers, but who knows? Thank you.
Okay, 20 minutes as usual, and there's coffee and cookies at the back there. Thank you, Rex and Rita, for that entertaining and interesting presentation. Back in 20.
Welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed, if you're at home watching, hopefully you enjoyed a bit of a break and got yourself a beverage or a treat, and here as well. Before we get into the Q&A, I will invite Rita back to the stage or to the floor just to reintroduce the clip that we will watch, and then we'll lead into the Q&A. Thank you.
So I'm back on the floor. This is the short about Wanda, Justice Warrior, and thank everybody for your patience when we had a few technical glitches. Technical glitches frequently happen. What can I say? So Cassie, let's take a look at Wanda, Justice Warrior.
And for those of you who still doubt it, yes, slavery did exist in Canada. And not only that, in Nova Scotia, racial segregation was actively present for most of the 20th century. Nova Scotia has long been referred to as the Canadian Mississippi.
Professor, do you have any examples of significant events that would have contributed and earned Nova Scotia that title? It's not that I don't believe you, I'm just honestly curious.
When I was in grade 3, I had a teacher. She was a bit mean. She made all of us, the black kids, sit in the back of the classroom, and the white kids were all in the front. When I would raise my hand to answer a question, she would ignore me completely.
I am so sorry.
Don't be sorry. Be better.
Thank you, Wanda, for trusting us and sharing your story. You didn't deserve that. No one does. Now let me show you an excerpt from a film called Journey to Justice before we discuss anything further.
This was the reality of segregation in Nova Scotia. Even middle-class blacks outside the ghettos couldn't break the race barrier. And in 1946, the extent of bigotry was revealed in the Viola Desmond case.
Viola Desmond was arrested and convicted in 1946 after refusing to leave the white people only section in a cinema in New Glasgow. Have any of you heard of Viola Desmond?
She's my sister.
Viola Desmond is your sister?
Yes, you heard that right. We were 9 years apart. Viola was the one who came to the school with Mama to tell Mrs. Reed she was in the wrong. Every now and then, I have to pinch myself and say, that's my sister.
Mrs. Robson, how does it feel seeing Viola be the first woman apart from the Queen to be commemorated on a Canadian bill?
Let me just say that the Queen is in really good company.
Any questions?
So needless to say, I was very encouraging of the two young producers who produced that. I thought it was a wonderful choice, and it was produced under a low-budget initiative that our union, ACTRA, will make possible for things that aren't huge or even medium budget productions. So it's a wonderful thing to get some things made that wouldn't otherwise get made. So with questions, comments, etc., as you probably know, you need the microphone so that people who are listening to the recording or who are online will get the questions. And there's a roving microphone. So, any questions, comments, objections?
Objections.
And so forth.
If you could stand up, please.
Hello.
Hello.
We know you.
First of all, I'm going to put a little context to my question. Rita, I was there in the graduation speech you made, it would be 3 years ago. There were 450 graduating students from Lakehead, and you addressed them as chancellor. And what you said on that day had a deeply moving message for everyone in that room. So there would have been a couple of thousand people there. And what you said was, as you go out in the world, and you were drawing from your own experience, because you had this experience of somebody telling you this, and that was you're standing on other people's shoulders, and you have to be always thankful for those people that raise you up. And I see in Rex and Rita today two people who spent their entire life feeding others' souls. To me, that's so unbelievable. Order of Canada, well deserved. My question is, in that context, when you raise people up and when you feed their soul, as you did today to all of us, I would agree, or state, how do you feel? What's going through your mind as you're draining yourself constantly in the way you write, Rex? The whole issue about the Champlain Monument, you just encapsulated so beautifully in him jumping off the dais there. And Rita, that day, that afternoon, in front of all of those students, what do you feel? How are you fed? It's a tough question, I understand that.
Well, first of all, Roy, I hope it's not our entire life. There's always something else to do. And draining, I don't know. I don't see any of this if it actually is meeting people where they are and where they can be. I don't think that's draining to be part of that process.
Thank you for those comments. Much appreciated. But I'm agreeing with Rex. I'm quite aware that as you get older if you have reasonable health and can pay most of your bills, that you have a responsibility to contribute. Because that's so much to be thankful for. I mean, think about it. If you can actually keep doing stuff, in Wanda's case, until she's 77 and gets to university for the first time, it really is kind of a responsibility. On a more practical level, I guess, I use The Artist Way. Do people know that book? I see a couple of heads nodding. The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, which recommends that you write every day. And I try to do that, and when I don't do it, I really feel it. I feel that I haven't gotten going for the day, and I'm a bit frayed. So that's a resource. Also, the meditations from the Sisters of St. John the Divine. I've never they're in Toronto at the top of the subway, and they do silent retreats as well. I've never made it to a silent retreat, but I have been using the meditations. So some kind of routine that keeps me writing and reflecting, I try to incorporate each day, but mainly I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity in terms of reasonable health and being able to pay my bills most days. Actually, Rex pays them. And I need to try to figure out where they go and how that all works. I think I'm supposed to know that by now.
I'll write it down. And Roy Mena, I was just thinking when Rita was talking that it's a kind of a trade-off, because going to the singing in the choir that you founded and led for so many years, it was an energizing thing, and that fed my soul. And if you like some of this other work that Rita and I have been doing, and found that moving and expanding, soul expanding, then it's a good trade-off. Other questions? Yes.
Good morning, Rex and Rita. Thank you once again for your stories. You're both such wonderful storytellers. It's always a pleasure to hear you. I'm struck by, first of all, the Champlain Monument story and play, and I hope we see that entire play soon. I'm struck by how often the arts become part of the political landscape. And that's a very good example of how political issues overwhelmed, in a sense, the artistic aspect of the Champlain Monument and became a roadblock to simply seeing it as a piece of art. I think we're seeing the same thing in some of the attacks in the States on late-night television, for example. Comic writers or people who are expressing their thoughts through their art. Some people would say it's not art, it's just attack, but it's still art. And I'm also aware from doing some recent work that over the past 6-7 years, the province of Ontario has reduced arts funding by about 27-28% from what it was back in 2018. And I'm also struck by the fact that yesterday's Orillia Matters all of a sudden has raised the issue of OMA, which is a home of an art gallery and lessons for children and so on, has become a political issue right here in our own municipality. And what I would urge people to do, I think, is to take a stand one way or another. If you, in fact, do feel that art feeds the soul, then it's up to people like ourselves to stand up and say, wait a minute, this is not acceptable. So your thoughts about how art tends to get political more often than we might think?
Money is a language that communicates something. When it's taken away, it communicates a perspective, and the perspective needs a voice. And so it's up to us to demand, I think, to be spoken to about what's symbolized by taking money or giving money to the culture of a people. That means that artists need to have at least one part of their intelligence oriented to politics, to finances, and to where money goes. For dramatists, Rita mentioned the Michael Healy plays, which transformed what was reportage in the Star or in books about various issues into something that is experienced by an audience, a live audience, gathered around a perspective. That's what theater is, and other arts, performing arts. I worry about another aspect of that is democracy itself. If we're stuck in little cubicles in our basements watching a large screen, separated from one another, gathered around an experience, and with live actors, word becoming flesh, and in the midst of a community, an immediate community. If we don't have that, if that's separated, we're put into these cubicles and silos, then it's damaging. It's damaging to the soul. It's damaging for the way that things work in a democracy. It's too bad that we eventually developed movies and television. We didn't know that finally it was going to end up in the basement or the rec room or the little cubicle closet. Anyway, there's a hopeful response to you. Not really.
Well, and to add to that, I have been spending a lot of the last 8 to 10 years on boards of directors of 2 organizations. One is the CBC, and the second is the Royal Ontario Museum. The day after the federal election, I literally felt a weight off my shoulders because the party had not been elected where part of its platform was to defund the CBC. So of course the whole board, and it's a very good board, this had been the weight on our shoulders. Now that doesn't mean, actually what it means is, thank goodness in this moment when it's very important for Canada to protect its cultural industries, that that part got solved for the moment. The museum, just a month ago, the provincial government announced that it was going to correct a structural deficit in the museum's funding, which meant that the province's contribution to the Royal Ontario Museum had not increased for 40 years. And it was what we talked about every single board meeting. It was the biggest problem we were facing. So, of course, you're right, Fred, that these are political actions that have to be taken. And so here's another thing about being somewhat older. If you don't have the need to generate income like in your middle years, there is that time to get involved in these issues. And if you have reasonable health, and you can, I think it's very important to be involved in such issues. In broadcasting, speaking of monopolies, I have watched the not-for-profit broadcasting sector shrink to only CBC and APTN. It used to be much bigger, that we accepted and paid for, that broadcasting was something that was important to support the culture, and it should be available from Canadian sources. So these are huge monopolies that the play reflects somewhat. Oh, and I just got a notice from Crow's Theatre just now saying that Rogers versus Rogers is on from now until June 1st. So if you didn't see it the first time, there is an opportunity to see it, which brings to mind that so the computers in the basement, that people have massively stopped going to things with their bodies. I got a notice from Eventbrite last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and what they were saying, this was just advertising, events worth leaving home for, because attendance meaning physical presence, has gotten so much lower post-pandemic for everything. So that kind of support is very important as well.
Did they mention third age learning?
They might have, actually. They must have, because don't you register for Eventbrite? Yes, so probably it was there. There was another hand that has gone away. Well, oh, another two hands.
Cassie is, yeah, I'm on now. Okay, thanks, Cassie. Yeah. So, I guess I'm just so taken with everything you presented to us, and especially what you've shown on the screen. I had totally unaware of all of it. I'm embarrassed to say that. Everything you've shown on the screen that you've been involved in or have generated. And I just think often, maybe there's been a bit of a talk, I think, from a previous person who was asking a question about American and what they do in the arts in Canada. Of course, we're much more perhaps aware of that now. I sort of think maybe Canadians are not very good at marketing, especially when it comes to the arts. I just wondered if you have any thoughts or comments on that.
I don't.
It may not be as negative as you're thinking. When everything is almost available and everybody is participating, maybe there isn't much need to market. Now, there does seem to be not so much a need to market, but to inform. At Vision TV, where I was for maybe 15 years, I'll take APTN actually. APTN, since it's the newest of networks, it is not always obvious to people that a not-for-profit network operates exactly the same way as a for-profit one, in the sense that you can't spend more money than you have. It's as simple as that. And things that are very popular pay for things that are less popular, but that meet a real need. So we don't always immediately understand that we are, through taxes and through our regulatory body, the CRTC, we are paying for everybody to have these things available. So I think the information message is what needs to happen. When people complain about commercials being annoying, well, they're annoying, but if you have to have commercials to pay for the thing, then you have to have commercials. If we paid more, we wouldn't have to have commercials. So, yeah, I'm not sure so much about marketing as about the information that everybody needs to know how we pay for Medicare, how we pay for arts and culture, how we pay for education, these are real information steps.
Also, see, I'm so clueless. I'm still grieving over the loss of the Packet and Times.
This gentleman right here. Oh, he was agreeing. But I think there was another.
Right here.
Yes.
Oh. Right here. I don't have to stand. Can you hear me? Okay. It was an interesting exercise, I thought,
where you had us doing the storytelling. I don't know, I have two questions. Do you do that every day where you write a story about something that's happened?
Yes and no. When I teach, it's frequently been journalism. And sometimes I would have students who would say, I don't have any stories. There are no stories today. And I would always give the assignment that you must, absolutely must, or you're going to flunk this course, come up with 3 stories a day, because they're there. You have just gotten your eyes closed and your ears closed, and you're not finding them. Sometimes I'm clever enough to take my own advice, and other times not. It's really good, though, if you can be firm with yourself and make those commitments. 3 is excessive, but I wanted, because these people were going to be journalists, and they absolutely needed to find the stories, and they needed to meet deadlines. Without those 2 things, they were lost. So, are you doing the morning pages? Is that why you ask?
No, we were just sharing the stories and we're talking about things that from the past that you can't change. It's history. Nothing's going to change it. And likewise, I was thinking with the monument, it's history. We're not going to change it. Should they, with a lot of these monuments that are coming down or being changed, should we not leave them as history and explain better what went on at those times for people to learn from instead of getting rid of them?
Oh, okay. It's very important to tell the stories of the past. You are changing it, actually, by telling the story. And one of the things that we've done the last few years is to judge the Simcoe County History Museum has a festival of students' projects, history projects, grades 4 through 8 in Simcoe County. So we were just there 2 weeks ago. And I go now because these students' projects give me a tremendous amount of energy and hope, because they are doing projects on all of the things that some authorities are saying, if people know about that, it'll just be way too depressing.
They're not always, they haven't been given a list of topics to explore. They come up with these things themselves, about women's rights, about the history of slavery in Canada, about Métis and other Aboriginal kinds of stories. And it's every year, about just towards the end of April, and it's held at the museum there between Orillia and Barrie. So if you spot it and can get to it, it is inspiring. Yeah.
So telling the story is definitely something in and of itself. It is not it's not done to depress or to, I mean, we've all been reading the information that the president of the country to the south of us has told the Smithsonian Museum that it shouldn't talk about slavery anymore, because that's a depressing, well, I think he thinks maybe it's not true. Who knows? But that, of course, is a terrible directive. It's absolutely terrible, because the only way you can move beyond whatever the problem is to know that it exists. So to see these grades 4 through 8, knowing all this stuff is absolutely invigorating.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. My soul is surely fed after today's session and all the sessions we've had thus far. Hearing Fred speak brought me back to thinking about the rich community we have in the arts and the importance of advocating for arts education. As an elementary school principal, I found myself daily advocating for space for art and equal opportunity for students exploring that pathway. I was a 12-year-old girl sitting in the Opera House in Orillia watching Fred sing on the stage and watching my dad sing and play the piano on the stage as a fundraiser for Jazzmatazz, so that richness in musical and artistic heritage really is important to me. And so today we've heard a lot about feeding your soul, filling your bucket, showing up, contributing, engaging whenever you can, writing and telling your story and bringing your story to light. So I really, really appreciate your candid presentation, your humor, your expertise, and your inspiration that you've left us all with. And thank you, Cassie, for troubleshooting through that, because they were really, really important pieces that we got to see and witness together. So again, just a reminder, some housekeeping, that next week there will not be a tall session. We talk about the arts going across generations. I referred to it with Fred and my dad and my family. And on the stage, I'm going to make a point to get here to see our retired chair of the Faculty of Education act as the Tin Man, and our campus principal's daughter act, I believe it's the mayor of Munchkinland. So, I mean, intergenerational theater is happening right behind us and in front of us. So, hoping that you'll remember to join us on May 27th when we reconvene to hear about writing in the arts. And our presenter is actually in the audience today, so I'm very excited about that. But thank you, Rex and Rita, so much for being here with us, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day and weeks.